Hello and welcome to Norwood News. Today is Friday, January 8th, and I'm your host, Krista McDonald. The Norwood Police had a busy start to 2021, beginning last Friday the 1st, when police dispatchers received calls of shots fired at Windsor Gardens. Chief Brooks explains.
I just want to talk a little bit about a shooting event that we had at the Windsor Gardens apartment complex on New Year's Day, which was last Friday. We got a number of 911 calls about shots fired at Lansdowne Way. It actually came in as Wickham Way, which backs up to Lansdowne. Our officers got to the scene very quickly, and when they got there, they encountered a couple of women that were screaming that the shooting victim was on the third floor balcony at 701 Wickham Way. So 3 officers right away made their way to the kind of fire escape stairs that go up the outsides of those buildings. And Officer Pete Fisk, Officer Greg Shaw, and Officer Kevin McDonough made their way up the flights of stairs up to the third floor balcony. And while Officer Fisk covered the sliders that are there, the sliding glass doors, to ensure that an assailant didn't come at them, Officers McDonough and Shaw took the shooting victim, who was a 24-year-old male, took him by his arms and his legs and carried him down to the ground. They then called in a Norwood fire. Their ambulance had been staged nearby. They came in, picked up the victim, and took him to a hospital for treatment. At that point, of course, we didn't know where the shooter was. As it turns out, whoever fired those shots had fled the scene just prior to the officer's arrival. And the investigation into that is ongoing. But we did freeze the apartment, and we did obtain a search warrant and conducted a forensic search of the apartment. It was also necessary for us to kind of shut down that area around 701 Lansdowne and to control the traffic in and out, and we maintained a perimeter there for a while. But with the assistance of the Mass State Police Crime Lab, the detectives of our Bureau of Criminal Investigation are actively investigating that shooting, and we look for some developments down the road.
Then, just 3 days later, the police department received calls that a car had driven through the fence at Norwood Airport and drove into the marsh behind the runway.
We got a report of a crash here, and when we got here and talked to witnesses, we found that a woman had crashed through the gate here at the airport and then taken a turn and driven down the taxiway, and right off the end of the taxiway, and then into the field, and then into the wetlands, into the marsh area. And she got out of her car, and then she took off. She had a dog with her. So our officers at the scene, Officer Melanie Conlon and Officer Pete Fisk, went right there. They started towards the car, but they soon found themselves up over their knees in water. The fire department responded, and using the suits that they use for ice rescue, they were able to get to the car and determine there was nobody else in it. The woman was apparently suffering a mental health episode, and as a result, the officers took her into custody, and she's been sent for a mental health evaluation. We have filed a charge against her, criminal charges of trespass and damage to property, and she is facing some motor vehicle charges, but that's a complaint application filed at the district court, and we'll address that down the road when she's out of the hospital and we figure out more about this. And we've also, as we do in these cases, reported this to the Registry of Motor Vehicles that has the authority to take action on the license under their immediate threat authority. So fortunately, nobody was hurt. I understand the damage is about $25,000 to have that gate replaced. The Airport Commission's working on that. It's all in good hands.
Thanks to the Norwood Police and Fire Departments for all your hard work. Stay tuned after this break for more town news. Welcome back. The Norwood Senior Center has a lot of great events coming up this month. For more on those events, we go to Carrie McCarthy.
Hi everybody, it's Carrie McCarthy, the director of the Norwood Senior Center. I'm here today to give you a few updates on the winter months. Our first exciting update is that we're going to have the Old Colonial Cafe cater our dinners on Wednesday. So now you will be able to get a meal here at the Senior Center 5 days a week. The dinners on Wednesday will be delivered anytime after 2:30, or you can pick them up here at the center. The menu will change each week, and the cost will remain the same as the lunch program, which is $5. We need you to call in before 11 o'clock on Wednesday to get your order in. Secondly, our AARP tax preparers will be back at the Senior Center beginning February 9th. The appointments will be on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Right now, we only have one preparer. We're hoping that we get an additional preparer because we do have the space to properly social distance everybody. So if you need an appointment for your taxes, 781-762-1201, extension 5, and you can schedule your appointment. And one of the great things we're doing this winter is we're asking you to send us a note in the month of January. Just let us know how you're doing. We've all been, staying at home for the last 10 months. We want to know how you're coping. We want to know what you're doing. We want to know what you need from us, more importantly. Send us a note. We're going to put that in a basket, and during the month of February, every day, we're going to pick a card, and that card will be given a $25 gift certificate to a restaurant or a business here in the town of Norwood. So it's just something fun to do so we know how you're doing. If we've never heard from you before, this is a great time for you to give us just a quick note, let us know who you are, and we'll enter you in the raffle. So stay safe, everybody, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, Carrie. Tuesday, January 5th was a special day for Russ Federico of Norwood. He turned 103 years old, and of course, Carrie McCarthy gathered up all the troops to celebrate in style.
Hi, everybody. Today is Russell Federico's 103rd birthday. So we worked with his neighbors on Allendale Parkway and the police and the fire and the veterans office, and we're going to do a little surprise birthday parade for him. He is 103. He's amazing. His mind is as clear as can be, and we just want to celebrate him.
And now we're going to toss it over to school news.
Hi guys, I'm Juliana O'Neill, and let's take a look at some activities happening in our Norwood schools this week. Recently, an alumni of the Norwood schools decided to donate a painting to the Coakley Middle School. This painting was on display this summer during the Norwood United Drive-In Night in the CMS parking lot. Let's hear from Dr. Margot Frazic.
We are just so proud that Maddie Evans decided to donate her piece of work to us here at CMS. She's a former student here, a student at NHS, so truly it's an example of the product of the Norwood graduate, of what it is that we're trying to do here. Her ability to express what was happening this summer with protests and with our Norwood Unites vigils, and really hone that to come out in her art was just amazing. So it's great to have a piece of art. Would be excited to, if no matter who had donated to us, but it really adds something special that it is a former graduate of CMS and a former graduate of NHS. So we're just so proud.
Alumni Maddie Curran explains why she donated the painting to her middle school.
So I wanted to donate the painting because I think it'll have a good impact on students who go here, and they'll be able to be an example for future generations to see.
Maddie also explains the meaning behind her painting.
I think it's a big remembrance piece, and it shows a lot of unity, and I think that's a good thing to see here. Well, I came up with the idea because I protested in the Black Lives Matter movement during the summer in Boston, and seeing all the buildings and everyone walking together, that's kind of what inspired me to make the piece.
Her art experience in the Norwood schools has helped her develop her art skills.
I think it gave me an outlet for expression, and it helps transfer into what I see. So the classes that I took here and at NHS were a huge outlet of expression, and that's what helped me be able to create this piece.
It is special for Maddie to know that the students at CMS will see her painting every day.
I'm really happy that it'll be able to affect people that I don't know, and that students might be inspired by it, and they'll be able to see parts of what I saw that maybe they didn't.
Dr. Frazic is excited that this could be the beginning of a new tradition at CMS.
This would be an amazing new tradition. So if there are other artists out there in the community, especially our former graduates or just locals, we would love to have art. I don't know if you've heard, but we may or may not be designing a new CMS. And to have that new building populated with art from local citizens, from former students, would be really an amazing thing. So I'm all for this being a new tradition.
Thank you, Maddie, for your donation that will now hang in the hallways of the CMS. The Balch School students would like to thank their wonderful PTO for bringing in the Bombadilli dancers and drummers. All students, hybrid and RLA, were invited to attend this diverse and engaging event. The Bombadilli dancers and drummers shared music and dance from the Caribbean, Brazil, and Africa. Students joined through Google Meet and were greeted warmly by the group and up and out of their seats in no time. Students learned some new words, movements, and the origins of some drums. This was a wonderful community building enrichment event for all. Students at the Balch School with Mrs. Duffy in library classes have had the opportunity to code in live and asynchronous library classes. Students are able to apply problem-solving skills while using the basic concepts of coding during the month of December, when Hour of Code was celebrated across the world. 4th and 5th graders have been using Scratch with their own individual logins. 3rd graders at the Balch, as well as RLA 3rd graders, have been using Codable. And 1st and 2nd grades have utilized virtual bbots. All you need is snow and a day at school to have a snow day. Students at the Callahan created snow creatures and snowmen during recess. 4th graders at the Cleveland School are all participating in #ClassroomBookADay challenge. A picture book is read aloud every day of the school year as a way to promote community, literacy, and engagement. In this next clip, 1st graders at the Oldham School are practicing fluency with some movement at the same time. Let's take a look. That looks like a fun way to learn. There were sounds of little footsteps running around Little Mustang's preschool in December. And it wasn't just the preschoolers. The gingerbread man made several appearances at the preschool as the boys and girls spent the month of December reading many versions of this story. They had a school-wide graph to decide which version of the story was their favorite. They wrapped up the month of learning preschool concepts through literature with a gingerbread cookie decorating party. While the preschoolers were all a little disappointed when they read about the fox eating the gingerbread man at the end of the story, they all agreed that the gingerbread men are best for eating. The Little Mustangs would like to thank Roach Brothers for donating the yummy cookies. Math at the Willett School takes on many different approaches. Children explore dice, numbers, and representatives of numbers. In one of our classrooms, students were cutting out squares of the numbers 1 through 12, the die or dice that corresponded to the number, and the fingers and hands that also corresponded to the numbers 1 through 12. Once the children cut these shapes out, they labeled their boards and then pasted them next to one another. It gets a little challenging when some of the pictures show a hand hidden behind a hand and one does not know if the second thumb is raised or not. The children certainly know how to persevere. In another classroom, children rolled an oversized die to determine what parts of the body or costume should be filled in. Counting, numbers, and representation are such important foundational concepts in our math learning. Well, that's it for the school news. There's something interesting happening in our classrooms and schools every day, and thanks to all the educators who share their news with us. Now let's go to Brian Boudreau for the latest sports news.
Hello and welcome into the sports update for this week. My name is Brian Boudreau, filling in for Brian Dunn. With the new year upon us, the winter sports season officially kicked off with both boys and girls hockey in action. Girls hockey competed at the Bach Ice Center Wednesday afternoon and dropped a tough decision to the Warriors 3-1. Jenna Nauman was the goal scorer for the Mustangs in the effort. Later that evening, the Skating Club of Boston made its Norwood hockey debut as boys hockey opened up their seasons against the Hopkinton Hillers. Brendan Bartuca had a strong first period in net and held the Hillers to only one goal, but Jake Russo found the back of the net late in the first frame to tie it at 1-1. Unfortunately, Hopkinton would rattle off a few goals in the second period to eventually walk away with the 5-1 win. The boys will regroup for a rematch against Hopkinton on Saturday. The action continues this weekend as boys basketball will play their home openers this Friday against Hopkinton. Girls hockey competes in their home opener at the Skating Club this Saturday, and girls basketball gets going this Sunday. You can watch all the games live on the NCM Community Channel and stream live online at nordcommunitymedia.org. We'll talk to you next week. Back to you, Kristen.
Thanks, Brian. In government, last week, members of the Middle School Building Committee, along with representatives of Compass Project Management and AI3, took a tour of the newly constructed John F. Kennedy Middle School in Natick. Led by middle school principal Andrew Zattoli, the tour highlighted what a new middle school could look like for Norwood. The full tour will be airing on the NCM government channel. The Middle School Building Committee will host its first community forum next Thursday, January 14th at 7 p.m. The forum will be carried live on NCM, but you can also register for the forum at www.newcmsproject.org. Tuesday night, the Zoning Board of Appeals met and began their meeting with 2 hearings regarding Maxwell Avenue, lots number 9 and number 10. Both lots were making modifications to their existing plans and were both passed with little discussion. Following those cases, the board continued their case from December 15th regarding 973 University Ave. After discussion, ZBA member Scott Murphy made a lengthy motion that was later reiterated by Chairman Thomas Brady.
It's a 2-year permit. Is the first section of it. The second is after 1 year, the zoning board is looking for a status review, which will consist of a closure plan in regards to erosion control, showing slopes and grades, planting and screening of trees and bushes, not when the final plot is developed, but once it's done being excavated, which I believe it's probably going to take more than 2 years, which will, according to the last meeting and according to testimony in the last meeting. So obviously, there's no question you're going to have to come in a year and explain what you're doing, and especially in 2 years too, if you come in looking for an extension or whatever the case may be. But the third notification in the plan is to adhere to Mark Ryan's memo, which Mr. Bailey, I assume you still have a copy of.
Yes, I do.
Okay. So Mr. Ryan's memo, specifically numbers 1, 2, 3, 5, and 7. Mr. Murphy said what they were. I do not have that in front of me, but those specifically be adhered to, which as was pointed out, I think most of them already have been, but I don't think the last 2, I don't think you have any, choice to do that with the consent decree itself. The next one, number 4, return the property to the condition as it was prior to.
The abutters property.
The abutters property, I'm sorry, thank you. This must be done within 180 days, if possible, and the applicant must be allowed by the neighbor, MS Walker, to access the property in order to get this done. So that, I would strong. I can't tell you what to do there, but I would strongly suggest doing that with some type of proof or consent. Obviously, we're looking for consent, but we want to prove that it was done, and that's the 180 days is the key time frame. Lastly, obey the order of the Conservation Commission and the consent decree from the Attorney General's office, which was spelled out by Mr. Murphy.
Also, there has to be a 20-foot setback
Yes.
around the property for the excavation.
The motion then passed with a vote of 4-1, with Philip Riley being the only vote against. The next zoning board meeting is scheduled for January 19th. Also Tuesday night, the Board of Selectmen held their first meeting of 2021. Both Chief Maurice and Chief Brooks joined the hybrid meeting to give their monthly departmental updates. The most important topic of the night was town meeting.
Okay, thank you. So we've been pushing and working towards how to hold this remote town meeting. Mr. Mizuko, a number of staff people, Attorney DeLuca, and others have helped identify a platform and to try it out and to get some training and to be scheduling to move forward. There are a few things that aren't yet decided. We're developing those as we go along, but they will be before town meeting, and they're not, in our opinion, significant enough that they'll cause any problems that we have to wait to 100% resolve them before we call a town meeting. We had indicated trying to call a town meeting in January. We didn't quite make that. It looks like up to the board's decision and vote, but Looks like we can have a town meeting as early as February 4th. We'll be ready. That's a Thursday. We are planning on, again, with the approval of the board, the warrant being the same as we had planned in November, less 2 items, which we took care of it in November on the other warrant that evening. And that has to do with the Recreation Department's elevator and the Fire Department's mechanics equipment.
The Board of Selectmen will be meeting again next week on January 12th. The Conservation Commission met on Wednesday night. Moderna was there to propose an expansion of an existing building along with associated grading, landscaping, and utilities outside of protected wetland areas and their buffer zones. The reason for the expansion is to help Moderna increase their COVID-19 vaccine production.
As Holly pointed out, this expansion that we're talking about is to a specific part of our process. And this will enable us to produce additional vaccine than we've already committed to the United States government. We're looking to add on to the northeast corner of the current building that we have in Norwood. It's the One Moderna Way location.
Essentially, there's 2 things. Am I correct in assuming that if I was to make a motion for a negative determination, that would be one thing, and then we would need to do it, ratify of the emergency as a second request?
Yep.
I'm prepared to make a motion unless other commission members have questions.
Nope.
Then I'd make
Okay.
a motion for a negative determination.
I'll second that.
Okay, it looks like all those in favor has passed, so we can move forward from here. Holly, was there anything else to summarize?
The emergency ratification?
Oh, do we have to vote on that as well?
Yeah, that's later on
Okay.
in the agenda, but we can take it out of order right now to move to ratify that emergency certification.
Sure.
I'd make the motion to ratify the emergency certification.
A second. A second? Okay, so now both of those have been satisfied. Thank you, Mr. Bamber, for doing the ratification now. And are we all set, Holly? Is there anything more?
I think that's it. Thank you all.
Okay, thank you.
Well,
Thanks very much.
Chris Hirsch from the Department of Ecological Restoration was also there to update the committee on the removal of Mill Pond Dam and stream relocation and restoration to restore ecological function and habitat connectivity to Trap Hole Brook. The Conservation Commission's next meeting will be on January 20th. For complete government coverage, tune into the NCM Government channel or watch it on demand at norwoodcommunitymedia.org. Stay tuned after this break for more town news.
Did you know Norwood Community Media offers podcast episodes of your favorite community and government content? NCM is also proud to host 2 independent podcast producers. The Impaction podcast, hosted by Aubrey Seall, focusing on substance use prevention and wellness. And Today in Space, hosted by Alex Orfanos, exploring topics beyond our atmosphere. To find these and more, search for Norwood Community Media on iTunes and Podbean.
Welcome back. Norwood Light Department Superintendent Jimmy Collins will be retiring after over 45 years of working for the town. Collins reflects on his time working at the Norwood Light Department.
Hi everyone, this is Jimmy Collins, wrapping up my time here. I started working back in 1973 for the Light Department as a student engineer and worked my way up. It's been a long time. There's been a lot of changes in the town and was in the department during that time. I've been very, very fortunate. I've had great people working with me. The town has been tremendously supportive. Norwood's a great town. It's a great place to work, great place to live. I look forward to retirement, but I'm going to keep my finger in the pie and try to help out where I can. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim, for all you have done at the Light Department and for the town of Norwood. Back in December, the Recreation Department and the Skating Club of Boston teamed up for Pictures with Santa at the rink. All proceeds of the event were generously matched by the Skating Club of Boston and donated to the Circle of Hope. On Friday, the Skating Club of Boston presented the check to the Circle of Hope.
My name is Travis Farley. I'm with the Norwood Recreation Department. I'm a superintendent of recreation. What went on today is a very generous donation from the Skating Club of Boston for an event we did here in December. We did a Pictures with Santa event here, which was a fabulous event. Hopefully one of many more to come. And the Skating Club of Boston actually was very generous and donated matching proceeds for the event for the Circle of Hope, which is a very, very, very great organization in town.
Well, that's all for Norwood News. To stay up to date with Norwood Community Media, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. As always, thank you so much for watching. Have a great weekend.